Hi, I'm Beth, and this is Identity Shift. Well, welcome back. This is episode 6 in my grief series of Identity Shift. Today's episode is called Expand, and it's based on the idea from Isaiah 54, where it talks about enlarging your tent and spreading wide your tent pegs. So thinking about expanding your life. And I'm fairly new to this stage, even though it's been 11 years since my husband died. I have just started to expand. Expanding feels a bit like I think that birth might feel like. It's birthing something, it's transitioning to something, but it's definitely moving away from the heaviness of grief, the loss, and moving into the next phase of your life. So it has this feeling of new and birth. And when I think about expanding, it's a bit uncomfortable, I have to be honest. Transition is not easy. You're leaving behind and you're stepping into. And so I'm doing this in some areas of my life, but it's still very, very new for me. So I don't really feel like I have an expertise to draw on for this particular topic. But I really see how God has been leading me into this. So I'm going to talk more about that. So years ago, I was in a journey of infertility, as you know, or as you will know if you've been watching our videos. But if you think about where I'm at now, I am now feeling and believing that there is fruitfulness in my life. For a really long time, I lived as someone who could not produce, could not have children, was barren. And I do talk about fruitfulness in my first 21 videos. If you look, there's an abundance video in my Identity Shift series. So I really began to learn that I actually was fruitful, although my body appeared barren, that there was tremendous fruitfulness in my life. And that's what expansion is. It's about changing belief systems, changing mindsets, and things that you held on to. And that is part of what God is doing in redeeming what you've lost. So if you've lost something that meant a great deal to you, like my husband did, then that is a really painful thing. But God is a redeemer, and he comes in and says, I'm buying back what you lost, and I'm giving you something new that's even more. But in your expand era, there's going to be the discomfort of transition, but it's joyful. It's like birth. Pain endures for the night, but in the morning you get your baby. And that is a joyful and exhausting and stretching experience. I endured adoption pain of waiting and hoping and then being disappointed and then being matched with someone, and then the stretching and the painful expansion of learning how to parent, which has really been the most amazing experience I've ever had and expanded me in so many ways. So remember that God is going to use your pain and use your suffering to expand you and also to expand your life in future. It's really exciting. But when I was in the middle of the worst pain, I just really didn't care about this stage. I didn't want it, and I didn't really care. I wasn't ready. And now I'm at this stage, and I'm on the brink of this stage. I'm scared, but I'm excited because I'm ready. I am so excited. People have been messaging me and telling me how much my videos are helping them. And that is so encouraging. That's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this so that you will know there's hope. And the most important thing for me when my husband first died was to look in the face of another woman who was going through what I experienced and was seeing her life return. So I'm telling you, life will return and it will expand, and you will never look like you did before. But that's what expansion is about. Who I am today is not who I was 11 years ago. And that is good. It is good. And that's how God works. And he will do that for you too. Enlarge the place of your tent. Stretch your tent curtains wide. Do not hold back. Lengthen your cords. Strengthen your stakes. For you will spread out to the right and to the left. Your descendants will dispossess nations and settle in their desolate cities. Do not be afraid. You will not be put to shame. Do not fear disgrace. You will not be humiliated. You will forget the shame of your youth and remember no more the reproach of your widowhood. Isaiah 54, verses 2-4, New International Version. So this is the other thing to bear in mind. It is not too late for you. If you had a hope and a dream and you figure it's gone forever, that will never be fulfilled, God is going to restore that dream to you. And when my husband died, almost immediately, I had this promise in my heart that God was going to redeem everything that had been stolen from me, that had been lost, and that had died. And I have held on to that promise for years. When I was reading Isaiah 54, it talks about not remembering anymore the reproach of your widowhood. There's shame that comes with loss. And even though it's not your fault, there's still shame. There's a brokenness. My husband left me. I was let go from my job. I don't know. Whatever it is, whatever is broken, you can always feel that shame that comes with it. So in the expansion phase, this is the time to shed some of that, the shame that is not yours. And I also feel in the expansion phase to start to see what you are birthing that's new. You've lost something and there's been death, and then there's a season for mourning. And now you're coming into the season for joy, and it's time. The spring is coming. It's time now to start to rise up into the new life that's coming forth from you. And this is where you need to look for areas where you're stuck. I'm still holding on to this. I'm really hurt by this, where shame is hanging on you, where you're feeling the shame of whatever happened to you. You need to be able to get help to shed some of that weight and that excess that you don't need anymore. It's baggage you don't need anymore. You've probably by now processed the grief. You've started to deal with the issues that were surrounding the loss. But now this is where you start looking at things that you're still carrying, that you've been carrying, that you don't need anymore, going into the next phase. And I mean emotional baggage. So I encourage you in your expansion phase to rise up and allow your grief to still be part of your life, but not encompass your life. To shed shame, fear, anxiety, and things you don't need anymore, and to rise into the new thing that God is birthing in you. And if you don't believe it's possible, then I'm going to pray for you to have faith. Lord, I thank you for each person here who is hoping that the expanding phase is coming for them, who's believing that you are a God who fulfills his promises, or even that he's real. And Lord, I pray that as they're listening to my prayer, they would feel something rising up within them, and what you're trying to birth in them would come to full term, and they would be able to have the courage to allow you to birth abundance in them. I bless you with fruitfulness in every aspect of your being. And I also bless you with peace, grace, compassion, and love, the character of the Father who loves you. Amen. And I'll see you next time.